Right, so let's start with a riddle. What has a lot of dresses, and to take them off, you have to cry first? An onion. Clothes for winter running is all about layers, so you have to be an onion. But how do you dress an onion? And what system do you use? We have to run, always. Sunshine, cold, wind, hot, rain or snow. We have to get out there and smash. They say that there is no bad day for running, only bad clothes. I'm a South African living in the Czech Republic. My blood is just not made for running outside when it's -5 and there is snow on the ground. So that is something that I really had to get used to. But now I have a bulletproof system that gets me out the door no matter what the weather is. Yes, those long, cold and dark winter months can drag on for what feels like forever. But hey, you have to play the cards you've been dealt, or make lemonade from lemons, or whatever cliche terms gets you to get out there and get those kilometers in. I always check the temperature on a weather app before my run, and something that might sound very stupid, but I open the window just to get a feel of the temperature and the wind outside. But it's always better to be a little bit underdressed than overdressed. Maybe you'll be cold for the first 5 minutes, but you will warm up quickly and then feel comfortable. So let's talk about the layers. A base layer is a thin layer that sits nice and tight against your body. This is to soak up all the sweat, to keep your other layers nice and dry. I prefer a sleeveless type just because my other layers will do the job of actually keeping me warm. Now that the sweat problem is sorted, we can start building the heat layers. I use a thin but long sleeve shirt. You don't want to go thick on thick on thick layers. You also don't want to feel buffed up like the Incredible Hulk or a stuffed turkey while running. So it's important to still feel comfortable and be able to freely move your arms around. If it's not that cold, you can swap this layer for a normal short sleeve t-shirt. For the top layer, you can again play around with some options depending on the temperature. I use another long sleeve top, but a little bit thicker than the mid layer. If it's really cold outside, this layer has a thin fleece lining on the inside just for some extra snuggles. And if it's a bit warmer outside, just a standard normal running top. Your ears and hands are almost always the first things that get cold. I don't need a full beanie or some thick windproof gloves, but at least something to cover everything. So I just use a thin headband and some basic gloves. These things are small enough that if you get really hot during the run, you can just stash them in your waistband or in the waist of your pants. I also use a buff around my neck. This is very helpful as you can fold it down nicely if it gets too warm, or pull it up over your chin if it gets cold and windy. I really don't like running in windproof jackets. It doesn't matter what the manufacturers tell you about how breathable they are, but you always turn into a little bag of sweat if you run in them. So I really only use a jacket if it's very windy outside or raining and snowing. I go full length tights for the whole winter. They're thin enough to not overheat my legs, but at least some kind of layer to keep my kneecaps from turning into little blocks of ice. You also get some leggings with a thin fleece layer on the inside, but I think that you would rarely need them, and especially not here where I am. Winter days are short and dark, and sometimes we have to run early in the morning or late after work when it's already dark. So it's always better to at least see where you are running, but also use something so that other people can see you. You don't have to wear the sun on your head, but at least something to see where you are going. Also use some reflector tape or red lights so that cars can see where you are running. So that is the system I use, but it takes a lot of practice and testing to get to the perfect layering system that works for you. But don't use the weather as an excuse to not get out for a run. And if you get out there and it's a little bit cold, well, just run a little bit faster and smash some more to heat up a bit.